All right. So Bismillah. Brother Shairaz, you are now an NLP and mastermind coach. You're dealing with very difficult issues in people's life. But that wasn't the case, was it for you? I mean, you are in business for 20, 23 years, living quite comfortably and independently, supporting not only yourself, not your family, but extended family in Toronto. But just let us know, how did it come that you felt you are more of the healer, more of the therapist than a business person? How does, transaction and transmission from one end to another end, quite extreme, happened for you?
Yeah, my journey is a unique one. I've been teaching for the last 21 years people who are 16 to 82 how to drive a vehicle. So most of my life I've been running a successful driving operation in Toronto, Ontario, and many people even now in the last few days, 3-4 calling me for anxiety of even getting onto the highway, getting onto the car. So for the last 21 years, I've been doing that without any therapeutics training or whatnot. That was just me in the car, life and death, things go wrong, and if you're not nervous,
extreme.
Yeah, extreme, right? So it's, thank God I pray and make sure I'm okay. But in that moment of fear, and you can't be scared to drive. So, I mean, with all that training, and it wasn't something that, I got complacent, but I was feeling that I could grow more. So I looked up psychotherapy, I looked up counseling, I've looked up all the other training. I spent a lot of time researching because you have time and money to invest in anything. And after doing a lot of research, I fell into, NLP, and even the words, I say it feels awkward. Like, what is NLP? What is this magical 3-letter word?
So what is it? So what is it? So let us know, right? It's quite mouthful, isn't it? Neuro-linguistic programming, Well,
I'll do it very simple, and everybody can research this online. And NLP is in existence since 1970, so it's not something I've learned this is pure in the past, a lot of history behind it. It comes from a mathematician and psychotherapy. So they found how the language works, right? So what it stands for, NLP, is neuro, linguistic is language, and programming. Yeah. Now, neuro-linguistic programming of what? Of you, of how your neurology, how your senses are, how your brain interprets information. That's a lot of information that we misconceive, negatives and stuff. And programming is habits that we build over time. So when we look at it from an NLP practitioner, there's nothing wrong with a person who feels like they're broken or lost. It's just their life events have now built up over time that's caused them to behave like that. So NLP, there was life coaching too, but I fell into what is this NLP? And it grazed my interest. And a funny moment, I was thinking, we're sitting 15 of us on in the NLP practitioner course, the first one, and the teacher asked us, "So why are you guys here?" And we're here to help people. We're here to and everyone gave kind of this thing. Yeah, I'm doing it for an extra source of income. I got this gym. And then he said, "Who's going to help you guys?" And that's, all of us were like, "What's wrong with us?" Yeah. So unbelievable, powerful stuff that came out, and a lot of the stuff. So I've been through a lot of clearing of myself. My dad died when I was young. You realize a lot of trauma. So a lot of confidence, not confidence, anxiety, all of that stuff. I've been through it myself. And with the tools, I find that not I'm a better person for that, but teaching actually is what I'm doing. I'm nobody special. So I tell people when I get a client, I'm teaching you out of your problem because you kind of indirectly are in your problem because of yourself. Does that kind of make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. Now, what I hear from you as well is that what works well for your clients within NLP realm is to detach your programming, the way you think and the way you approach or categorizing situations from who you really are. And that sort of also applies to trauma. So what I'm trying to confirm with you is whether I understand correctly. Trauma is not who you are. Trauma is what puts you in a certain state, and NLP comes with an aid to help you to see that and to correct yourself. Am I anywhere?
100%, 100%. It's two things. Let's call trauma like a separate. So with NLP, you get to detach yourself.
Yeah.
And with the tools we have, we get to clear out the emotional charge. So we can't remove the event. You know, God forbid, your memories are your memories. But but that horrific car crash, or that little poodle that scared you, once that's resolved, and you realize that part of you is could actually get out of the situation and you survive, immediately there's a lot of relief. So I mean, that's what I've and it doesn't matter the problem. I find that once the trauma is resolved, immediately your habits, everything, all those things that are linked to that trauma start to break off. So
Okay.
and that's what I realized, even when you're teaching something, as soon as and for me it's still a shock that I have somebody driving a car, grabbing the wheel with their light, and I'm looking at them, and then 10, 15 minutes later, they're laughing about what they were doing, and they're absolutely normal. So I've seen that.
And are you using NLP to do that with your clients?
No.
No.
For the driving, that was just, it's just a state of intensity and them realizing it's not so bad in that moment. So when people ask me, how long does change take? And then I ask them, how long do you want it to take? Sometimes it's, that awkward question that kind of puts that mind in a different state. So it's really about talking about different states and understanding that. And once you understand how your mind is being programmed by yourself, you then are somewhat conscious of making better choices,
So let me get it right. So your brain can get into a programming based on certain traumatic experience, right? So certain emotions, when they are produced as a response to traumatic experience, they are just programming according to NLP?
They're high emotional events that are recorded, and as depending on how high or low that event is, it will then seal off that. And NLP, then basically we can review that event, the first event, and resolve it. And as soon as that first event is resolved, most psychologists would work backwards, but we try to find the root cause of your problem. And once we find the root cause of why you're behaving, or when did this start, when do you notice, and as soon as we can review that, and as long as your mind is willing for that change to happen, 50% of the problem usually is gone.
Okay, so how does timeline technique comes into play?
Timeline clearing is one of the most powerful things, and it's under the Tad James Corporation. So you guys can look up the Tad James timeline clearing. And what it says is let's say 6 high emotions. We have rage, we have anger, we have sadness, we have guilt, we have hurt, we have fear. These are emotions that both you and I and anybody watching knows how they feel, right? Even these emotions we have, quote unquote, learned. Where do we learn these? We learned them when we were kids. We learn from our environment. We learn from our behavior of our parents. We learn from the kids at school. We are, in the first 5 years, whatever intensity events were, those were all recorded. And then your mind then tracks similarities to those events and then builds a story. Now, sometimes some traumatic events are so bad that now it's locked off that you don't even know how to solve it, right? So,
so that's what you mean, a build-up. So that's what you meant at the beginning by saying emotions can create a build-up, because there was no adult, no carer, no guide to help you to put it into perspective. So from your mind, it's almost like a monster, emotional monster. Whereas if you work with therapists like yourself, you can sort of tone it down.
Yeah, you get to fight. You get to fight it, realize it, and I tell people, it's a good thing that's happening. When you're feeling that, that means your body and mind are working perfectly, because it's trying to protect you for that thing never to happen again. So if I am, quote unquote, scared of dogs, my mind will now perfectly always keep me scared of dogs. It's like, nope, we don't go there. right? It's doing that. It doesn't mean it's right, and doesn't mean it's, see how that works. So now the program, so now if I wanted to change the programming, we kind of have to go back to when did it start to believe that? Because we're only born with two fears, whether it be fear of falling and loud sounds. Those are the only two fears God gave us. Everything else has been produced from our environment, our parents, all the other variables in fight. And then obviously, if it's been a high emotional event, even to the point of you being yelled at, that gets recorded and then gets tracked of how did that make you feel. And then those emotions start to get stored. Now, they may not show themselves as a kid, but when you hit 25, 30, now stuff from the past, and I got many clients who are old age, I'm like, all their rooted problems, they might be having marriage problems and etc., all that, but their root problems are hiding back in childhood. And that's why they can't clear it. And the habits will repeat.
So I think if you explain that to clients, they sort of self-consciousness must raise drastically doing sessions with you, isn't it? It's just like just the fact of realizing that I might be a victim of a wrong conceptualization of my experiences, and whatever I think it is might be not reality. That's a very powerful message, isn't it?
Yeah, and the best thing added to that is you can change that. What if you had known what you know now in the past? So in younger self immediately gives you a change of perspective, because now I'm older. That fear of dogs, it's like almost in the past. It wasn't even there because it was kind of resolved. So and all the memories connected to that, emotion all get cleared up. If that makes sense, right? So
no, it makes complete sense. So, Brother Shiraz, we've discussed it before, so I need to sort of make introduction to others. Emotions, they also can create somatic reactions, right? Like heart palpitations, sweating, and so forth and so forth. How does NLP addresses those two seemingly opposite sides of the story?
Well, first and foremost, you have to be relaxed. So we have many tools that gives you, just within 3 minutes, you can be really rested to the point you look like you're sleeping, if you know how to do that. And that's without any really tips. So, once you learn how to relax your nervous system, you immediately are 80% better in your situation. If you don't know how to immediately relax your nervous system without medication, then, you're kind of stuck. And that's why most psychologists give antidepressants, and that slows the nervous system down. So it is solving one problem, but then it's creating a sluggishness, and then you still feel depressed because you can't get out of your sluggishness. So you still have a different type of negativity. So I tell people all those, once you can create those endorphins in your mind, it basically does affect that whole neural
So
system.
how to create it? Give us a tip, leave us with something tangible that we can practice on a daily basis.
Okay, very cool, very easy, and I teach this a lot to my kids or the people I train, because it's about what is anxiety in its purest form. It's your negative perception of the future, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so example, I have to give a speech to 10,000 people. So now my heart rate is beating and I'm so scared. Okay, now with NLP says, listen, you can spend your time panicking and nervousing, but you're not helping anybody. With NLP, it's like, okay, the event will happen, or it's going to happen, so there's no avoiding it. Why don't you go create your future perception? So if you were to close your eyes and see the event, the key is a 15-minute after. So we try to break through you getting to the event. It's not about getting us, it's getting after. So think about, I should be thinking about the audience clapping. I think about the reviews that will become, oh my God, what an amazing speech. If I spend daily focusing on that, and then coming back and opening my eyes, I don't see my anxiety building up because I've kept thinking it's going to be an amazing show. I already got, and one of the stories I've read in success is when Thomas Edison, he didn't make the light, but he kept saying, I made the light. I really made the light.
Yeah. So this is so this is like that inner talk you have with yourself, that positive thinking, visualization as well. I hear the NLP using a lot of visualization. But how about getting there just with working or with your soma wisdom, with your body? What kind of trick you could give to us so we can control our emotions, high emotions, just by calming our body?
Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 things because you asked, and I see that you want me to tell you exactly.
I do, I really do.
Okay, so again, this is useful information. You guys can study it always. Now, I'm going to give you the first tip is your eyes, right?
Yeah.
If my eyes are down, I'm looking at my pen, I'm in my gut, okay? So right now, if I sludge down, I'm very upset, I'm crying, right? So my eyes are already down. But if I raise my eyes to the point that's above the horizon, so it's like looking high, not moving your head, immediately, if you focus on something that's above the horizon at the 45 and holding it for 2 minutes, immediately your heart rate will drop. So just raising your eye level high and focusing on something above your eyes immediately. The second thing, neurologically inside your mouth, you can take your tongue and put on the roof of your mouth, and that kind of convinces your body that you're going to sleep. So even if you press hard, immediately you'll get a big fresh air, and no one even knows you're doing that, right? And the third thing is, if you won the Olympics, how would you stand? So if I stand holding my gold medal, can I really get upset?
No, that's
right. I can try to cry. Like, I mean, recently, may Allah bless my soul, my mom, she passed away during COVID, but, and I said, okay, body position. So I love her, I miss her, but, with here, I'm still composed. I'm like, okay, I can't neurologically get upset. So, one thing I would leave anybody watching is psychology is directly connected with your physiology. So if you're feeling bad, immediately you put your chest up. I even tell clients to buy that shoulder brace to keep your shoulders up, like you're feeling like Superman, because even that would be a reminder, hey, keep yourself uplifted. And that's my perspective.
No, that's such an abundance of tips. Thank you so much. First of all, Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give the best of places on the day of Ahira and the best of places in Jannah for your mom. And for rest of our beloved members of the family. For those who are watching, I'm sure that we are all joining in that dua for you. Well, thank you so much for.
Oh, you're welcome.
There's more we want to say.